Hello, and welcome to another episode of Blunt Talk. Today, the often confused, angry as opposed to passionate Red, will be your host, and Krystle, the a lot nicer version of myself, will be the co-host today.
Hello.
And and we are joined by Whitney, only our second guest that we've had. A lot of you know her better by Tornado Sis '06 on Twitter. Hi, Whitney.
Hello, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good.
And today, and I think I should mention the reason I am being the host is because this is a topic I am very passionate, not angry about. So we'll be discussing feminism, what it is, what it's not, and what it is done wrong to the world. Won't that be fun?
Man. Oh my God. Is this just an hour?
I know. I think we need longer. All right. Well, my question that I want to start out with is what is it to each of you? I think I'll let Whitney go first since she's our guest, and then Krystle, if you want to follow up, what you think it is. So, Whitney, what do you think feminism is?
Oh gosh, what a question. Modern feminism? I think it's a virus upon this world is what I think it is. I know that might be a little hyperbolic and, uncouth and not tactful, but it's in a lot of ways it's been not good. It's caused a lot of chaos. So that's generally how I feel about it, I guess. It's just a crazy ideology.
Okay. Krystle, you might have a different take. What do you think feminism? Jesus, I can't even say it. It's like God doesn't want me to utter the words.
I mean, to be fair, sometimes I can't either. Well, as Whitney. See, I can't talk either. I just called Whitney Brittany.
It happens. People do it all the time. You don't even know.
That's misogynistic, Krystle. Now go.
As Whitney clarified, modern day feminism is. I won't say virus, but I will say it is a lot of misunderstandings of how actual situations are, as well as a misplacement of it's a misplacement of things that I'll probably explain further as the show goes on, and very much different from like the past generations of feminism we've seen that brought the rights to vote and whatnot. So I'd say modern day feminism is vastly different from previous generations of feminism, which is why I'd call myself more of a egalitarian today than a feminist. So.
That makes sense. All right. Well, the way I view it, feminism was supposed to be the equality between the sexes. Women can go to college, women can go to school, women can vote, women can do the same careers as a man. Looking at it from that perspective, it's good, I think.
Yes.
But I'm not entirely sure that I don't even know what's going on right now with modern feminism. Now we have, as opposed to the simple things of being able to vote, being able to go to school. Now we have slut walks. Now we are killing our unborn children. So I don't know what exactly happened. It's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, the early feminists were actually very pro-life.
Yeah.
So much so. Yeah. Okay. So in that aspect, as far as equal rights, I would consider myself probably a first generation feminist. But I would hesitate to even use that word because modern feminism. So thank you for that, ladies. It's awesome.
Yeah, unfortunately nowadays there's a sort of, depending on who you're talking to, there's either a different conception of what you are. So a lot of people will associate feminists with what modern day feminism is. while others would automatically see it as a negative connotation, even if you do clarify it as a first generation feminist.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. No, I
right,
mean,
so-
I definitely feel that way. Keep going.
All right, so what exactly is it that you think changed? Do you have any idea when it started to change? What happened?
Man.
Essentially, what happened to women?
Oh man.
Whitney, you're our guest,
Oh.
so why don't you take that heavy loaded question?
Oh, it's a very heavy loaded question.
Yes, it is.
You know, I would probably, I mean, I can't, I'm not like an expert on history and all those things, but for me, what, makes a woman is the carer and the nurturer and the mother. And I feel like a lot of what feminism did, as it progressed, I suppose, was kind of take women out of that role and say that this is more important than that role. And that's not to say that women can't, add value in other areas other than being a mother, because they can, obviously. In a lot of professions where you can do a lot.
Right.
But I think feminism has become more of a trying to crush the other sex for past sins, I suppose. It's a how do we get back at them for, that the whole Me Too movement, like we're definitely going to make you guys feel it now, like it's more of a revenge thing. So I feel like as feminism, like I think as long as society is going to vote, women should have a say. But I'm not a big advocate for them being able to vote. I'm just gonna throw that out. I think a lot of women want the world to get along, right? We want peace. We don't want to fight, and we kind of treat it like we would our children. Like if our children were fighting, we make them stop, and that's how we politically vote. It's like we've just got to. I'm not saying all of us do, obviously, but a lot of them tend to just vote for those kind of like mothery, smothery kind of, laws that say can't do this, can't do that, can't do this, like it's just, I don't know.
So what you're saying is you think women vote even with us being nowadays opposed to the mother role, we kind of vote along that way where we want to take the reins and have people do what we would want them to do as opposed to what the logical thing would be for all of us to do.
Right. Or at least in a, yeah, I would say just like, we just want to mother the world. And like, since they took us out of that role, right? Like me personally, I was under the impression until my late 20s that like I was never going to be successful unless I went to college, had a career, do this, and this. Like that's what was preached to me. My parents preached that to me all the time. And then I realized that the only thing I've ever wanted was to be like 100%, and I knew I'd be good at was to be a mother. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to be that. And that's villainized in modern feminism. Like, how could you they're holding you back. It's patriarchy. You just want to love your husband and take care of your children. Like, I can't believe you. Like, it's made out to be like I'm being oppressed. And I used to maybe think that way. Like, I didn't really think that way, but I did sort of think that way, where I was like, oh, I don't want to be just that, right? I'd like to have a career and do all those things. Like, no, it's okay to just want to be at home and raise your children and take care of your husband. And I feel like, I know that not every woman's built that way, but I feel like a lot of them are, and they deny it,
That's just your internalized misogyny.
It is,
but
apparently. I don't know, like I'm not, like, I always wanted to be a meteorologist, but I never had, like, I love weather, like, love it, but I couldn't, like, I was smart enough to do college, but I couldn't stick to it. I just couldn't, because I just didn't have the intent, like, I didn't want to put attention. All I was focused on was finding somebody and getting a baby, but I didn't realize that was, like, I'm just like bearing my soul on this freaking podcast right now. I'm sorry. I'm kind of hogging it because I know Krystle probably wants to talk. So
Oh,
No,
you're
it's
I'm
fine.
just.
We take turns.
all right. Let me cut it down. And Whitney, you
Okay.
bared your soul there with your whole
I did,
hunting for
a
babies.
little
We're gonna pretend none of that happened. Hey,
It didn't
Krystle, it didn't happen. You're fine. You didn't bare your soul or anything on,
No,
live
sure
air or
didn't.
anything. No. Krystle, what is it you think changed? How have women changed? And do you think, I'm going to add one for you, Krystle, because I know how you love when I do that and
Oh
go
boy.
go on the fly. What do you think changed with women? What happened to them?
Well, first, I disagree with the. I do, and I don't agree with the voting thing. I think most of it comes down to the societal mindset. At least when it comes to like the factors that cause the change.
Right.
And I'd like to say as K Fellows in the live chat pointed out, feminism went downhill when women bought the lie that they had to be just like men in order to be equal to them. I think that I think that was a huge factor and a huge contribution to the change. Because Whitney, as you said, that's a lot of what you were fed growing up, was that to be successful you had to do these things, which was before solely focused on a man. Now, that's not to say that for other women, that's not what success is to them. However, before modern day feminism, there was a small sect of feminism that was considered radical, and that was sort of the mindset that they had, that if you want to be equal to a man, you act like a man. And I think that's what a lot of it's not the only factor. I think there's a lot of things that contributed to it, but I think that is a huge part of it, because now I'm seeing today, even people who do call themselves feminists are often pointing out how they are tired of so specifically in the writing community, even writers who call themselves feminists, they will often comment about how they're frustrated because with the books coming out nowadays, all the main female characters that are considered quote unquote badass are all these like modern 21st century women who like cuss and like they fight and they do this and like they're these overly masculine characters that frown upon feminine things such as dresses and makeup and like family and whatnot. And so even some feminists today are even saying like, whoa, wait, no. That's not how this works. So I
just feel like there's
Go
I
ahead.
agree with you. Keep going. I don't want to overtalk you.
No, Whitney, go. You're our guest.
Saying.
Please go.
No,
Sorry, Krystle.
Just to play off what she's saying. I mean, I just feel like in a lot of ways we've upset that balance, because like there was a balance that has been going on since the time of humans. Like that's why we were created. It's like when we took women out of the homes and put them into the workforce, it threw things into chaos a little bit. I'm not saying it's the sole contributor to why society is a mess. Like that's not what I'm saying. I think there's many factors as to why things are the way that they are now. But to that whole idea, that lie that like women and men, the only way that men and women can be equals if we can and do everything that men do. It's like there's a different kind of idea of equality, like in the eyes. Like for me it feels like if we're going to have a justice system, I want to be seen as an equal human being that can I want that equality, definitely. I don't want to be seen in the eyes of the law as less than a man. I don't want that. But besides that, really, like if women want to be like, if they want to prove who they are, they should be, if they want to be like a man, they should do it like how a man does it, and that's through merit and hard work. You shouldn't be handed out certain things you're a woman, and that like they want equality, but then they want all these fucking privileges. Like it's just too much. Like,
And I think first before I say my next thing, Red, I did answer the thing you added on to the original question, right?
Hell, I don't know.
Like, yeah, who knows? We'll just say yeah. But and something that kind of concerns me with the fact that there's so much focus on women being masculine in order to be seen as a feminist or or equal to. My concern is that down the line, because I can't remember if I said it on Blunt Talk before, but I have talked about it on Fighting the Void, where it's a trend in cases where people tend to overcorrect in their stances. If they realize they were wrong, they either double down or they overcorrect. And my concern is that because there's so much pressure on women being masculine, that when we do start going back to like, okay, women can be feminine and still be like badass and like assertive and headstrong, my concern is that people will overcorrect and it'll be back to like, well, to be a true feminist or to be a true, equal, you have to just be feminine and all that. And I don't want that because, well, like, women don't fit into one mold, because like my mom's more of a tomboy than I am. I like to dress up, I like to wear makeup, and
Gross.
I don't and I don't really like to do like, I'm not into as much physical labor as she is, but she's still into like her nails and whatnot, but she's far more athletic, and I don't want it to come to a point where, because people have had it so much to where like the masculine is way, and then when the pendulum eventually like, okay, feminine is fine now, I don't want it to ever become a thing where then my mom's looked down upon because she is more masculine. I don't want that either.
Well, I personally, I don't think that is a thing. There's no problem with being a said tomboy. I am a tomboy. I played a lot of sports. Yeah. I'm still like that. Believe it or not, I'm very aggressive. I'm very headstrong. I have a lot of male, right? Me? What? I have a lot. All right, shut up a second. I have a tendency to mentally, emotionally, and philosophically be male. I don't do a lot of the emotional things that a lot of women do. But at the same time, I still have that feminine side of me that I think is biologically instilled in all women, whether they are a tomboy, they're a girly girl, whatever. Women are biologically prone to want to care for other human beings. It's just the way that we are. Yeah. Whether you're throwing a spiral football on the field with your son, it does not matter. I still want to take care of my family. I still am concerned about their well-being ahead of my own. And I think pretty much all women are built that way, even your mother.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
But Kay was right when she said when it went downhill when women bought the lie that they had to be just like men. They don't have to be. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, I think, with feminism. We've reached a point where women think to be equal, equality somehow means that you need to be the same as a man. That's not what equality means. Like Whitney had said earlier, equality is just being seen as a human being, having the same rights as all other human beings have. Right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, all that jazz. But the problem came in where, I'm sorry, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but female superheroes, they piss me off. I don't care if they have like that little special superhero ability. That's fine. But a standard woman, let's say me, you, or Whitney. Okay, we kick some 6'5" guy in the chest. We're not going to throw him across the fucking room. We're just not.
It's so funny you bring that up. I was last night with my boyfriend. I was sitting there watching Charlie's Angels, and I literally said to him, like, over, I was like, all these girls would get like their asses kicked in real life. Like they would. Like if there was like a real man that was like standing there, like they would all literally just get punched in the face, and it'd be done because it's not real. Women cannot throw 250-pound men across the room and can't do it. Like,
See?
That's actually something that really frustrates me. And I'm kind of coming at it from a writing perspective in that sense, because one thing that kind of really drives me nuts is movies and shows where they show it being that easy for the superhero to do it, even if their power doesn't deal with strength and whatnot. But it's like,
right.
dudes, you can show women kicking ass in ways unlike a man. You know that, right? Because from a writing perspective, I've had to write a character before that they weren't a woman, but they were not they had a scrawnier build, and so they had to go about fighting in a different way. And it's like
Mhm.
it would be, I would love for people writing these female superheroes whose powers don't deal with strength to find interesting ways to show the woman superhero fighting, because they're
Mhm.
like, even if you don't have the same like muscle mass, you can still find a way. Like the like when you're scrawny, use your joints, like use your knees, like
Your elbows.
like jab your
Right.
knees or elbows. Like there's ways to do it. So it's like when they don't do that, they just make it seem like, oh, then she just threw this like 500-pound like beast. So and it's like, no, no. It's like show her like show her like using her wit. Not wit. Clever. You show her being clever and outsmarting the villain, because that's what fucking Batman does. He outsmarts his villains when they're too strong for him. A woman superhero can do that. Just outsmart them.
You know, and I think Whitney would agree with me here. I don't think there's enough kicks to the groin, hits to the groin,
Yes.
in these superhero movies with women having to overpower men, and we're not kicking them in the junk. I mean, come on.
No, I mean, I get it. It's supposed to be Hollywood. It's flashy, and a lot of Hollywood is crap anyway. I get it. Like, it's all just like, it's all exaggerated. Okay, like I get that. Like, you know, that's what it is. But it's like, it's just dumb. It's dumb to sit here and think like Cameron Diaz can take on some 6'5", freaking 260-pound dude, and, you know, drop kick him to the floor. Like, it's not gonna happen. That guy would literally break her arm and just smash her. Like, all he'd have to do is like punch her once and she'd be out. So like, it'd just be done.
You just pissed off all the feminists with that one, Whitney. Punch her once.
I guess I did. I'm just saying.
You're outraged.
I would like to point out that Lucas has showed me, like, I don't even know how we end up in these conversations, but Lucas has showed me before ways where if someone were to approach me and wanting to hurt me, he's showed me ways where I can take them down, and I do not have any strength at all. And he's showed me ways where even if I just sort of do it with him, he's like, okay, you can stop. So, and the ways he showed me, I do not see in these superhero things, and I'm just like, why aren't you using them?
Yeah,
like, I'm being taught to use them.
Yeah.
It's possible. So why aren't you using them? Get creative, writers. Damn.
Well, I think it's because of feminism. We're supposed to be on par with men. We're supposed to be seen as being able to be physically as strong as men. And it's just, I don't care how much you scream about equal rights. It's just never going to happen.
I just don't know what's so wrong with like celebrating femininity. Like, they don't want it. And it's like what Krystle was saying about how they like have, you know, made women more masculine in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't, why is it so bad to celebrate sundresses and makeup and hair? And like, I mean, I know that like, oh, that's sort of vain or whatever, but like, still, it's like you can celebrate just the softness of women. I think there's such a harshness to femininity now. Like, women are harsh, they're mean, like they're mean to men. They are mean. Like, and men have just as much crap to worry about as we do. Like, they're just as human as we are, and they suffer just as much as we do, you know, and they suffer in different ways, in ways that are that we don't even want to dream of. And we don't have any sympathy for it anymore. We have no compassion, no softness. And I miss that. I miss promoting that to women. Like if God blesses me with a daughter, I'm gonna teach her to be soft and caring and sweet and not pushover, like nobody wants that, like I don't want you to be that. I want you to be strong and I want you to stand up for yourself. But be
There's a
soft, be
balance.
caring, be loving. Exactly. And men crave that. Like men love that shit. Like they can't there's not there women out there right now, the modern woman, the average modern woman in society, they can be really mean. Like they're mean to men and they're picky and choosy and all these things, and like they expect so much out of men, and like all men really want a lot of the time is to be comforted and appreciated, and that's it. And like there's none of that anymore in our society. You don't see that in media or entertainment. You don't see men being praised in that way or being told that, you're vital to this family. We need you here. It's always the women. Like it's sad. It's sad that anybody who has a son that's gonna grow up, they're gonna grow up in a society that makes them a villain, and it's sad.
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up, because that leads into some of what my next topics wanted to be as far as feminism goes. Do you think that men's rights activists are any different than feminism? And do you think feminism actually created what we're seeing now as far as MGTOW and men's rights activists? Do you think that feminism actually pushed men to have to essentially call war with women? Whitney?
I certainly think it's a reaction to feminism for sure. I don't think men's rights was ever a thing until feminism started becoming
no, it wasn't.
Until it started becoming an attack on men, which is what it is. It's Me Too is a perfect example. Like, I understand that women weren't treated super great. Like I thought, like I don't want to go back to like caveman times, and I don't want to have to like deal with rape if I'm married. I don't know. Like I don't want to deal with that. I get it. But like all I'm saying is that, not like men and women loved each other too back then in those times. And I think women, they villainize those times, in like the 1600s or whatever, like back in the 19th century, like they like to villainize it. Like men were just like, they were holding us in our place and keeping us back. And it wasn't the case. Like we just loved them and they loved us. And yeah, there was bad times and abuse, but like it wasn't that bad. And now they've made it to where like we got to get revenge on them for all that horrible things that they did. It's like men went through horrible times too back then. Like they went to war. That's what they did exclusively, while we stayed home. So like, I don't know. It's like a war. It's like who suffers more, men or women? And I hate it. But I do feel like it's definitely a reaction to feminism. So,
Krystle, what do you think?
When it comes to the men's rights, I mean, I haven't heard anything about it since the documentary Red Pill came out. I forgot the woman who had done that, but it gained a lot of attention when it first came out. So last that I've heard of the men's rights movement, that I think was more so focused on some of the laws in place, because I never saw the documentary, but from the clips I saw and what I've heard about it, the men's rights activists were more focused on laws that
custody.
Well, things such as custody and also like male circumcision, and how those things aren't talked about, discussed, or how they're ignored. But things
what
like
about prison
female...
rape too? I thought prison rape was like a big one.
I don't remember that one.
But you know how like the female equivalent to those laws are, like the female issue equivalent is always talked about, but the male one isn't. So I think the men's rights... Cassie J, thank you, Ginger. Cassie J, who did the Red Pill documentary. So men's rights, I think, was more focused on the laws, and that would have happened whether or not modern day feminism was like this, I believe. But MGTOW, I think, is, as Whitney said, the reaction to just how toxic parts, toxic members of the modern day feminist movement can be today. Not all of them, of course. I know some people who would consider themselves feminists, and they are not at all that cruel or anything. But you know, a lot of it is toxic now, and so I think MGTOW is the reaction to that toxicity, because it's like, well, you don't need man, well, we don't need you, sort of thing, you know.
That was a good point. Because I think men's rights activists, honestly, I think they have some ground as far as custody is concerned, because men are important in the home, regardless. Like men, there's a certain kind of parenting that children cannot get from their mothers that they can get from their fathers. Whether we like it or not, whether we're separated or not, women tend to, like we said earlier, women tend to be more nurturing, more loving. Men tend to be more disciplinary. Unfortunately for my kids, it tends to be the opposite. I tend to be more the disciplinarian. Back to, I probably should have had a dick, but that's not here nor there. But
no, I mean, yeah.
But that kind of leads into what I also wanted to ask. What do you think happens? And I really want to bring this point home as much as you ladies can, because I think it's important for women that may consider themselves feminists that have sons. I think it's very important we address the effects that that's going to have on a son when they're seeing that. Whitney, what kind of things do you see happening in the future for the boys that are raised by feminists that go by men are trash, men are scum, and that kind of thing? What does that do to a boy?
I think it creates a resentful boy. I think it creates a very hurt boy. And that's going to lash out, and
Oh no, we lost Whitney.
Oh no. Ginger, I've always been drinking. What are you talking about? I wake up in the morning and I'm fucking drinking. We are in the apocalypse, people. Of course I'm drinking. Shit's about to go down.
Yeah, Ginger. Jeez.
But since we did lose Whitney and I am filling in as host, Krystle, do you want to take it until we can manage to get her back?
Sure. Obviously I can't fully say for certain what would happen to, you know, little boys growing up in this, and it also, you know, really heavily depends on the sort of mother or parents in general that they have, the people they're around, and I was gonna say something else. Oh, and I do hope that a change will happen to where boys won't have to grow up hearing those sorts of things anymore. However, so just to narrow it down to a little boy hearing this stuff growing up, I feel like it would really damage how they see themselves, because when little boys are growing up and like they're going through like the changes, they do go through periods of time where they feel, you know, more aggressive because of the testosterone, or they feel like, or they're going through these like changes that involve like these thoughts, and it's like, and then they're like bombarded hearing like all these things of like, this makes them scum and this and that and that and that, and I feel like it would really add to, and it would really hinder how they see themselves. Because, you know, as much as some people like to say men are unfeeling, men do have insecurities, and so I feel like if they're just bombarded with that and all they hear is that and all they're told is that, then they're going to start thinking that something's wrong with them and just them existing is bad, and then they're gonna start like try to act unmasculine just so they don't, because being being told that being masculine and being this makes them awful human beings, then they're
And
gonna
wrong.
go and then they're gonna go the other way, even if that's not something they are comfortable with or identify with, because, well, I'm told this way is wrong, so this way must be right.
Right.
And I think it really damaged them like that. Just like it damages little girls being told they're wrong for liking dresses, it damages little boys for being told they're wrong for liking robots.
Listen, feminist Krystle, we're not talking about little girls right now. We could do that another episode.
Wow.
Because the only reason that I'm saying that is because I don't think feminism, I guess it could damage little girls just as much. I didn't look at it like that, but it definitely damages little boys' self-esteem, especially when they're getting dirty, and especially when they're going through things like puberty. Because what do little boys do that are starting to go through puberty and are starting to change? They're starting to notice girls. And what do we see modern feminists doing? Oh, you're staring at me. That's sexual harassment. Look, bitch, they're just fucking attracted to you. Did they whistle? Did they fucking say anything negative to you? Were they sexually harassing you? No, they're just fucking looking at you. Calm down. It's kind of a compliment. Now, if they're being a little skeevy, then that's kind of where I draw the line. But little boys, especially when they're going through puberty, they're going to start noticing girls. They're going to be attracted to girls. And the last thing they need is their crazy fucking psycho feminist mom saying, what are you, a pervert? Because let's face it, that's kind of what the feminist moms that have boys are going to hear. They're going to hear they're wrong for having those feelings. Instead of having a woman, or should I say a mother, that sits down with them and explains, you're going to have a lot of feelings that are going on. You know, this is what's acceptable and this is what's not acceptable. It's okay to be attracted to women. It's not okay to make them feel uncomfortable. There is a fine balance between the two.
Yeah. And I think another thing too is that being told any of it is wrong is not going to help teach them how to channel those feelings in a healthy manner. Like just simply telling a boy going through puberty that being attracted to someone and having a reaction to that attraction makes them wrong and dirty. That could lead down the line to unhealthy ways of dealing with that emotion, rather than just sitting down and having a conversation with them of like, listen, that's normal, and these are ways you can handle that in a healthy way, rather than, because if you tell them it's all completely wrong, which will lead them to penting up and holding in that feeling. I'm not saying all the time, but that could, in some cases, lead to them almost exploding from that, and them doing creepy things like staring at girls and like and well, because that's what happens if you.
I'm sorry, I just got the giggles.
But it could happen because you're making them feel shameful. You're telling them not to do anything about it, even like internally. You're just telling them it's wrong, and they have no way to release that energy in a healthy manner, and it's gonna build until eventually it explodes, and they do something pervy.
I mean, let's face it, to a certain extent, and any men that may be listening in the chat or later watch this, men are kind of perverted. Like, that's just the way that they function. Like, men and women, and I know it's going to blow the feminist mind. Are you ready for it? Men and women are, in fact, different. Men tend to be a lot more visual, and women tend to be a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for here, Krystle? Besides emotional. I don't know what word I'm looking for right now. But men are more visual. Men are more attracted to that. Women go for things like personality and sense of humor. I know that's a big thing for me. But men are visual. If they're not attracted to you, they're probably not going to approach you. They're probably not going to talk to you or show any interest in you whatsoever. It's just the way that a man's mind works. And there's nothing, if there's any young boys that ever stumble across this, there's nothing fucking wrong with you. I don't care what your feminist bitch mom says. There's nothing fucking wrong with you. It's normal. Yeah, I said it. Your mom's a bitch. There's nothing wrong with it.
Damn.
Just don't be a creepy perv, like Krystle said.
Yeah, don't be peeking through Susan's window, guys. Just no.
Or Bridget or Tiffany, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Oh my god,
Samantha.
I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, it's fine. We were just talking about men not being pervs.
Yes.
And peeping through Susan's window or something. I don't know.
I was trying to get my headphones to work, but the mic wasn't working. It wasn't picking it up, so I'm just making sure there's no feedback or anything and people are listening to it.
No, you're good. But since we kind of lost you, I went to Krystle. So let's kind of recap. What we went through is what a son is exposed to when he has a feminist mom, like things like being attracted to women, looking at them, or even gawking or staring. These kind of things are normal. It doesn't necessarily make him a pervert. He just can't be peeping in windows. Like we're trying to find that balance.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to ask Whitney if there's anything that because it's YouTube. We're out on YouTube. If any young guy stumbles upon this that has a feminist mom, is there anything you'd like to say to him, Whitney? That he's maybe not a pervert? He's not fucking creepy for thinking girls are pretty?
You're not. No, I mean, you're not a bad person for being attracted to women.
Hey, Matt.
You're not. It's not bad for you to have those feelings. It's not bad for you to look at women in a sexual way. It's not terrible. It's all about just how you portray yourself. Like, what's acceptable in society. It's not like, I mean, you can't go up to a woman and be like, wow, great tits, you know. Like, obviously, like, that's not gonna work. It's just not going to. Like, I get that that's what you're thinking in your brain.
Don't say
normal. It. Yeah, it's perfectly normal for you to feel that way, you know. And obviously, like, scared and stuff, but it just boils down to like be socially acceptable. Like that's all you have to do. That's all you have to do with any child. Like not just sons, daughters too. Like you just have to make them socially likable, and that's it. And it's okay for you to be attracted. It's okay to flirt with women. It's okay to, you know, cross a line. You know, like men do that all the time, and women love that shit. I don't care what anybody says. They love it when men like try to kiss them, or like they love it, especially if they're attracted to them. Like they like that. They like that little bit of danger that comes along with it. Like what's gonna happen? Like you need that kind of spontaneity. If you take it out of it and just say, "I need consent every time you do something," like it takes all the romance and the beauty out of it. And when you're with somebody that you genuinely like, you're not thinking about consent. Like you shouldn't sit there thinking, well, if he touches my eye, oh my god, it's great. It's ridiculous. Like calm down. So if you are a son that has that, you know, kind of mom that like tells you like you shouldn't feel bad for being a male. You shouldn't feel bad for being attracted to women. They're pretty. Women are pretty. And it's okay to think that they're really fucking pretty. Like it's fine.
And I think it's a very good time to mention that women are just as pervy as guys. I know it might shock a lot of you, but
God. Women in a group, 5, 6 of them, they're disgusting.
We're just as bad. So don't feel bad. Don't let feminists knock you. When we see a guy at the beach that has fucking abs or is ripped, we're fucking thinking the same things. It just might not be our nature to be as pervy as the guys are. We think the same shit.
We just don't say it.
No. We don't say it.
We have all the power in that area, though. Like women... Women forever, for the longest time, we're the ones that choose. You know, we have the power when it comes to the sexual play that we all play with each other. Like, you know, men have to, they're the one, they're expected to come up to us and be the, you know, aggressor almost, you know, and women can do that now too. I'm not saying that they can't, but like,
I don't
All
like
I'm
it.
saying, no, it's but women can get away with a lot more than men in that area. I mean, we can touch anything, and if like I think there was a comedian, it was like Bill Burr or somebody who was talking about how like a woman comedian like flicked him in the dick as she walked by, like flicked him in the dick. Can you imagine if a man did that to a woman? Like she did it as a joke, but like if it were the other way around and he flicked her boob, like it would be sexual harassment. Like, and that's okay. Like it's not like men are looking to like make that illegal.
I love Bill Burr. She mentioned Bill Burr. I fucking love her.
Oh, he's great. I love everything about Bill
I
Burr.
love him so much.
No, he's great, but all I'm saying is that like we have a lot of power in this society. We have more than any woman has ever dreamed of in the past. Like we're well beyond powerful in this society, and we're drunk on it for sure. Like we are drunk on it, and we're never gonna give it up.
This might be a random sidetrack, but because we were talking about showing and teaching boys how to channel those feelings in a healthy manner and teaching them what's socially acceptable and whatnot. Recently, this is a more lighthearted sidetrack, but I figured it'd be a nice addition. Recently, Lucas and I and a friend of ours, we were watching, what was it, Star Trek? The original series? Yeah, and we were watching an episode that involved this teenage boy who was new to the ship, and he was like a lone survivor, and they weren't quite sure who had found him, but he wasn't raised, like with parents to teach him like how to like socially interact and whatnot. And in the episode, there was a female character who he was attracted to, and in the episode, he had witnessed like guys working maintenance on the ship, and it's like one of the guys had like jokingly slapped the other guy on the ass, and he had seen that, and when he came across the woman he was attracted to, he slapped her on the ass thinking that's what you did.
Exactly.
And then it's like, and then it ended up being where it's like, I mean, granted, he ended up the character had other issues in the rest of the episode, but he ended up having to have a conversation with Captain Kirk, and Captain Kirk is like trying to explain to him like, but there's no right way to hit a woman, okay? And it's funny, but I just thought that the conversation really made me think of that episode, because that episode showed, like when you don't know what is and isn't socially acceptable, you end up making faux pas like that and doing things that you don't hit a woman on the ass when you're not that familiar with her gender.
Well, I mean,
don't do that.
I mean, I would even go as far as to say, even when you are comfortable with a woman, don't do that.
Yeah.
No.
Unless unless you're really close friends with her and you really don't think she'd see anything wrong with it, and especially if she has somebody she's with, don't do that because you'll get your ass kicked. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah.
No, yeah, definitely.
Well, also with feminists, I think we'd be horrible if we didn't touch slut walks.
Slut walks.
Oh boy.
Well, that just gets into that whole subject. Just gets into moral relativism, because it's like if you talk about it, then it's slut shaming. So
I feel like
I get it. I'm not agree with that, but like, there's this whole concept that like women need to be, we're better off and we're freer if we have the ability to bang every dude. No, like that's kind of how it is, and so they're trying to like say, well, that's a good enough behavior to promote to women, and it's just as valid as being chaste and not sleeping with a whole bunch of dudes.
I feel like, and this could be just me being optimistic, I don't know, but I feel like it's been a while since the last time I heard of a slut walk actually occurring.
Was there one? I thought there was a whole bunch of naked women or something like a month ago.
I don't know. For me,
That's
it's
how we
been a while since
protest.
That's you're not me doing that. That's ridiculous.
Krystle, that's how we're supposed to protest.
Yeah, well, I
I
haven't heard of it in
there
a
was one
while.
about
Okay.
like somewhere in France or something. They were protesting something. I can't remember.
But that's France. France is France.
Yeah, they just do whatever they do over there.
Yeah, but you're supposed to protest naked because that's how men take you seriously.
Yeah.
No. Honey, no.
I don't think anybody with a brain would take that seriously. Like, it's ridiculous.
We're talking about feminists.
Yeah.
So
That was me.
I
Go ahead, Krystle.
notice when it comes to things like the slut walks and like hookup culture and whatnot, I've been seeing a lot more people, including again people who call themselves feminists. I've been seeing more and more people talk about how that isn't healthy behavior and how those things aren't good. But another thing I've noticed is that a lot of the people who say who talk about like wanting to like not talk poorly of women who do slut walks and whatnot. What I've noticed is that a lot of those people who don't necessarily talk negative about it, it's like one of those things where they won't talk negatively about it, but at the same time they're like, it's not for me, but I'm not gonna. That's another thing I've noticed too. I have no idea if that makes sense, because I know what I'm trying to say in my head, but it's not exactly coming out right. But
I do that
I've
all
noticed
the time,
it's like,
so
but I feel like I've noticed with like that stuff, I've seen a lot more people where it's like they say they support it and whatnot, but at the same time they also say they'd never in a million years do it themselves. So I find that kind of interesting. That's something where it's like a lot of them that are supposedly for it are also like, I mean, I wouldn't do it.
Well, that doesn't make sense to me.
There's a lot of pro-choice women that do that too, though. I mean, they say, well,
yeah,
I personally wouldn't get an abortion, but you know, I'm not gonna judge anybody for doing it.
Like that. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Whitney summarized it perfectly. I should have just had you say it, Whitney.
It's okay. I know what you're trying to say.
just like privately message Whitney. Hey, I need you to summarize this in smarter words.
Well, that's a good one too. I think we have to kind of touch on abortion, even though it's kind of a real big pet peeve of mine, and I know it is for Whitney too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What
really?
Yeah. What made women, you think that it's okay to kill their unborn kids?
Misinformation, probably. I mean, I think that's a lot of it. I mean, they've told them that it's less than. It's not. It's, you know, it's insignificant. It's not a real baby. It's that kind of thing. I mean, I used to be pro-choice.
Me too.
I used to be that way, and so I understand a lot of how they think, and I think many of them, there's not a lot of amount of knowledge that there's not a lot of pro-choice women that acknowledge that it is a life at conception, and then they don't carry it from there. Like, they don't say, well, that doesn't matter to me. It's still less. The value of it is still less. Like, most women who are pro-choice just think it's, you know, oh, it's the clump of cells. It doesn't matter. It doesn't feel pain, so it's not a human. You know, like, they see it as something disposable. So I think a lot of it is misinformation.
But do you really think, I hate to cut you off, Krystle, but do you really think that's the case? I mean, there's no one that's not, I hate to use this word, but I'm going to do it anyway. Do you really think there's anyone that's not absolutely retarded that doesn't know it's a human life they're killing? Like, there's no possible way. Even when I was pro-choice, some part of me, looking back, some part of me knew. I just didn't care.
Well, I was always like I said, I was always that kind of advocate that, like, I'm not gonna tell another woman what to do with their quote unquote body, you know. And then
That was me too.
yeah, and then I said, you know, but I knew inherently that if I ever got pregnant, that there's no way I would never ever do that, you know. So I, you know, and yeah, I mean, I definitely think that that's it. But I think women willfully lie to themselves. I think, even though the information is out there, like, they can't stomach, like, the whole women cannot criticize other women. Like, that's another tenet of feminism. I feel like not judge other women. We need to love each other more, that sort of thing. And we do. I get it, but, like, you know, we're supposed to be okay with all of these behaviors. And if I judge a woman's behavior and an action that she does, then I'm a terrible person and I shit on all femininity. Like, that's how they view it. So it's like, if I tell a woman, hey, it's not cool to abort your kid, even though it's inside of you and you think it's a part of you, like, they're gonna tell me, well, you're judging me and you're a terrible person, you know. So that's how it is.
I think the misinformation when it comes to, like, the abortion stuff or not, I think that most likely started around the time, you know, I am just over here blinking on names today, but the original woman who started it, you know the original woman who started the whole thing with the abortions, and who originally did it because she supposedly wanted to, you know, kill off and lower the black population.
Margaret Sanger?
No,
something with an S. But I fully think the misinformation started around the time of her, because, well, even though she didn't really hide why she wanted abortion to be a thing, but a part of getting it to continue was to put it under the guise of, you know, women's rights and whatnot, because saying women's rights is a lot more, you're going to convince a lot more people of women's rights than you are of, I want to lower the black population.
Yeah, that doesn't sound as good.
No, it sounds really fucked up. Either way, it's really fucked up, but the one sounds far more fucked up.
Right. There's just so many inconsistencies in the pro-choice camp. There's just almost any argument they can make, you can point out an inconsistency or a hypocrisy in it. But, you know, logically, you, me, Krystle, you know, all of us, we all started out at conception. We all started right there. And, you know, to discriminate and say that this life doesn't matter because it's in a certain stage of development. You if that's what you genuinely believe, then you need to carry that logic all the way through and past the womb. Like, you need to say that, well, a teenager has more value than a toddler. Like, we were all a fetus at one point. So if you're going to say it was okay to kill us at that point, if my mother decided I didn't want me, then say it. I just want you to say it. I'd rather you admit it. Like, I'd rather you admit and say that was okay to do morally, because that's the question. It's not a question of whether it's a life. That debate's over. It's done. It is a life at conception. Like, it's done. It's all about the value. That's where we debate it.
I think the thing that really got me with the abortion stuff was around the time the Georgia bill came out. Because, you know, for all of us, ideally no abortions. That's the idea. But to start convincing people, you know, that it is a human life, you would think the first step is to use, you know, science. Like, hey, if it has a heartbeat, it is a human life. And for me, it really made me feel ill, but with the fact that the Georgia bill talked about, hey, if it has a heartbeat, it is a human life. It cannot be killed. And the fact that so many people still thought that it was immoral.
That's what I'm saying.
That made me ill.
Yeah, it's
because it's like, okay, look, we're using science. We are telling you, because scientists determine death by the lack of a heartbeat. So one would assume life by the existence of a heartbeat. Again, to get them to understand, if it's not just, it's not nothing. It is a life. To start get them thinking that, you would use the same logic that heartbeat. And the fact that so many, it made me so sick. It made me so sick.
It's really terrible.
But to go ahead, Red.
One second. I was just going to bring up the fact that we are at our hour point. If we want to continue, I mean, I'm game. It's completely up to you guys to go a little longer. It's up to you.
No, that's fine.
I'm fine going a little longer because I'd like to find a way to end on something lighter than abortion.
I think we're also passionate about being pro-life. I think it's almost our duty to continue. If there are any feminists watching, I do think that some feminists out there do actually have a heart, and they're looking for some kind of guidance, and they just don't know how to get around the women's rights versus fetus rights, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So if we can try to circle around and maybe make it make sense, because some of those children that are being killed in the womb, and yes, I get it, they're not children, they're quote unquote fetuses. Look, I'm going to break it down like this. Fetus, newborn, baby, toddler, child, teen, adult, senior, all human, all lives, all in different developmental stages. You can't deny that. Science specifically states that is the case. So anyway, go ahead, whoever wants it.
I think well, I was actually going to change the subject, but I'll
Damn
wait
it.
instead.
I just started getting pissed off, Whitney. You see this?
But I'll wait instead. Because this also just popped in my head. I think another a thing that kind of makes the whole discussion a bit difficult is that it, as you said, it's hard for people to wrap their minds around the choice thing, and I think what makes it hard for a lot of people is the fact that it's a difficult conversation to have, because it's not easy, because when it comes to making a baby, it involves two people, and so it's not easy to. You know what? I take it back. I'm not touching this.
No,
you guys go ahead.
It's an emotional. Look, there's a lot of emotion that surrounds the abortion topic on all sides, right? Like, nobody's sitting here saying that I have sympathy for women who are in difficult situations and being pregnant, okay? Like, I have sympathy for that. I'm a human being, okay? But there's a lot of emotion that surrounds the abortion debate, which makes it very, very difficult. There's a lot of nuance that surrounds the abortion debate, which makes it very, very difficult. But when you're making law, science, and to praise science as it is, and science is a good thing. It's a way that we humans discover things. It should inform our ethics, right? So when you're creating a law and a system about, what's right and wrong, it should be logical, and logically, scientifically, you are a human being at that moment. So we should work from that point up. It shouldn't be like, well, women should have carte blanche on whatever they want to do, which is basically what abortion is now to some people, that women can make that choice at any stage. And instead of looking at it from a perspective of, can you outright ban? No, it's not going to happen. You can't ban anything. But what I'm saying is, if we're going to have abortion, if it's going to be here, we should look at it from the standpoint of, is this reason why this abortion happening a reasonable enough reason to kill this fetus? That's where you should look at it from, not, or to kill this human being, to say, okay, we need to end its life. Is this a good enough reason? And saying, well, you know, I didn't plan on it, or I wasn't wanting one. That's not a good enough reason. It just isn't. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what situation that you're in. I understand it's difficult. I get it. But if we're going to define fetuses as human beings, then we have to treat them like one. And it isn't okay for, just because it's difficult to have a child, it isn't okay for you to kill it. That's just plain and simple.
But you know, I'm going to take the position where I'm going to be hated and I'm going to get hate mail, because I don't think any situation is okay to kill an unborn life.
I don't either, but that's what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying, but I just feel like it's almost my responsibility, because I was in a relationship where, with my youngest kid's dad, I was beaten, I was spit on, I was thrown onto a bed actually when I was pregnant. I had him try to tell me that I needed to have an abortion because he couldn't afford child support. I don't think any of these are logical reasons, because one, my child that is now alive, that will be 10 this November, she didn't do anything wrong.
Of course not.
A rapist child did nothing wrong. I know it's hard. I couldn't imagine being in that situation.
Right.
But that child did nothing wrong to you. It's 9 months. Logically, it's 9 months versus eternity. Done, over. That life has nothing. You know what I mean?
Feminism has taken the modern day feminism. They've taken women, that nurturing, caring, loving thing that we have, that connection that we have. Because there is nothing like a mother's connection. There just isn't. Like, fathers don't understand it. Men don't understand it. Like, there's nothing like that connection to your child that's growing inside of you. And they've said, they've villainized it. They've made it gross. They've said it's disgusting. Like, they've just made it to where it's like the worst thing a woman could do. And so why, if you raise women in that environment, they're going to have that mentality that, like, oh, this baby, this fetus growing inside of me, what are you saying? It's nothing to me. It doesn't matter. Of course they're going to, like, they don't care. But we've taken that softness and that nurturing and that caring part of ourselves out of it. And so it's easier for women nowadays to say, well, you know, a woman wants to do that. That's, you know, like, they want that because women don't want confrontation. Don't want it. Like, I don't want competition. I don't want to fight with other women. You know, I don't need that. But, like, they avoid it at any cost. So,
Okay, I think I figured out what I wanted to say.
Oh, shit. Hi, Krystle.
Yeah, I'm still here.
She's going to take us off this abortion topic. Watch.
no.
Go!
Yeah.
Well,
Because we're getting angry.
I want to say my one thing, and then I'm going to change it, okay? So it's something lighter, please. So I think the big thing that gets in a lot of people's way is that because there's so much to it and there's so much weight and gravity to this particular subject, no one wants to touch it because, one, a lot of people, because the thing said is that it's a woman's choice, right? So for a lot of people,
I threw up. I'm sorry.
because for a lot of people, it's, well, the woman's carrying it, so her choice, but that doesn't feel right. But if I say it's they don't want to. Mm-hmm. It to a lot of people, it feels like a situation where you either say it's the mom's decision or the dad's decision, when it really isn't. You pick one or the other. It's the life inside that you pick, not the. So I think that, plus, as you guys just brought up, you know, the situation when it comes to like rape victims and whatnot. No one wants to touch. I don't even want to touch that. Like,
I will.
That's not. I mean,
I'm sorry. Well, I'm an asshole.
Who are you?
Right. I think the abortion debate really touches on the subject of how, you know, I think it shows just how like not equal men and women are. is women share an unequal responsibility in
Yep.
pregnancy. Like they share an unequal responsibility in sex, because it's not fair. Life isn't.
Nope.
That should be lesson number one.
What?
What I'm saying, it isn't fair. But what I'm saying is that women. That's why women need to not be, sluts. Let's just start there.
But-
Like that's
Wow.
Okay.
This is getting awesome. Keep going, Whitney.
Go.
Okay.
I'm saying,
Crystal,
that-
stop it. Let her go.
all you have is, I get that you have birth control, which can keep you from doing all that, whatever. But what I'm saying is that women have, we absolutely have unequal, and we have more responsibility when it comes to sex because we are carrying that child. So we should take that on, and you should heed that warning, because all it takes is one little squirt and you're pregnant.
Okay.
Go ahead, Crystal. Follow that one up.
Okay, now.
You're welcome, Krystle.
Okay, yeah, now I'm changing the subject. So, because now I'm uncomfortable.
I'm not.
So-
I'm good.
So to go back from, before, Whitney had brought up the whole issue of
Squirting?
no, please.
I'm sorry. Okay.
She had brought up how it's a thing often spouted that women shouldn't criticize other women. We all need to support each other, and as
No.
you said, and how I said at the beginning of the episode, I feel like there's a lot of misplacement going on with a lot of the movement today, and that's one of them, I think, because I feel like the saying we should be more supportive of each other, I feel like that basis of it might be based on, well, you guys know how high school is. Girls picking on each other, bullying each other, mocking each other's looks and whatnot. I think the basis of saying, we should be supporting one another stems from that issue. And all the other issues, because you and I have discussed before, like backstabbing and gossip and whatnot. Those sorts of things. So I think that it's trying to target that, but it's being misplaced to, well, this woman is saying something that is incredibly wrong, but we can't criticize her. We have to support one another.
Because she has a vagina.
Yeah. So, and I feel like that's a lot of what's going on with the movement today.
Well,
it's like these little good ideas to heal a problem or to help try to solve a problem, but it's being expanded to areas it does not have any business being in, and in fact can hinder. And I think that's a lot of what's going on. It's like it's taking these little things that aren't necessarily bad, but it's expanding them to where it is bad. And it comes down to how many times we've said today. It comes to balance. There needs to be a balance. It's not a one or the other thing.
You mean as far as if somebody expresses an opinion because they have a vagina and I have a vagina, I have to agree with it, or I hate women, essentially.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a good way to, or I'm sorry, it's a good topic to branch off on, because I don't agree with 99% of people I talk to, regardless of whether they have a dick or a vagina, because people are stupid. I'm not going to agree with you just because you menstruate like I do. That's stupid.
Right. Well, I think there's just I have no problem supporting women. Like I want to support women. I want women to do well. I want all those things. Obviously, I want men to do well. But we are living in the best times
for women
have ever lived in the history of mankind, and there's a ton of gratefulness to that, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And what women play an important role. Obviously, we are the life givers. Okay, like without us, life would cease to exist. So like, I get it. Like we grow humans inside of us. We're really cool. You know, like, it's awesome. But like, no, I think that should be praised. But like, praise each other's strengths. You know, like we shouldn't be. Not every behavior is
Good.
should be promoted. It just shouldn't. You shouldn't tell your daughter, oh well, it's okay, honey, go ahead and blow 20 dudes. That's fine. Like nobody would say that to nobody would say that to their teenage daughter. They just wouldn't. Like they want them to find a good man who will take care of them. That's their dream for them. Like that's the way that it should be. But it's like, we're telling them that it's okay that you can, it's okay for you to be a prostitute. We shouldn't do, sex work is valid work, like I don't like those kind of messages to women. Like those don't promote a healthy society. Like the only thing keeping women safe in this society is men, and we have no gratitude for it anymore. It's, if the electrical grid went down in 48 hours, modern feminism would cease to exist. It just would. It would. Men, you would want good men around, because the bad men are the ones that are going to come after you. Like those are the ones that are gonna. They're gonna. If there's no structure to society, they're gonna find you, and you're gonna want good men to protect you. And if we just keep telling them that they're terrible, terrible people and men suck, like they still, for whatever reason, still want to protect us and want to be with us. Like they can't get over it, even though we're super angry at them all the time. So,
well, I think a good way to kind of steer this direction is, what do you think a good relationship between a man and a woman looks like? What do you think the man's job is as opposed to the woman's job? Whitney, you want to take that one?
Gosh, I would say, just loving that person as they are, and being appreciative of one another. I think, my mom kind of talked to me about whenever my boyfriend and I were coming together, that it's important that you care for one each other's needs, because your children are, it flows down to your children, right? Like you need your relationship, you two need to be in a good place, because if you're not in a good place and one person isn't getting what they need and what they want, that affects them. It flows down to the children. So in some ways you have to put your partner ahead of your own children, because you want that relationship, to that goodness to flow down to them. And so I think just having a mutual understanding that we need to feel appreciated and loved, and it's just it's a selfless love almost. That's what I feel like. So that would be my answer.
I'm gonna have
Krystle?
to say I agree, because really there's no like specific formula, because each couple is different. But the one thing that is a common thing of every relationship, if it's a healthy relationship, every foundation should be respect, love, and respect.
Okay. You guys kind of agreed, so like I don't have anything to go off of, because
I think that's just that's the basis. Like what Krystle said, it's more like everybody's different. Like everybody has their own needs and their wants, but I feel that as long as you have to genuinely care about them beyond all the really kind of surfacey things like sex or attractiveness or things like that, because those things do matter. Sex matters.
They fade with time, though.
They do.
someone who's almost going on 10 years, those things do slowly start to deteriorate. I'm not saying necessarily attraction, but the relationship gets a little, what's the word? I don't want to say stale because it sounds horrible.
Right.
But like it gets comfortable.
Right.
And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that comfort, but I think there needs to be some kind of mutual understanding as far as, especially when children are concerned, you need to be on the same page. And it's important that you find a partner that's on the same exact page as you.
And that you can communicate with, too.
Yes.
Communication is really huge. Like, you
Communication.
have to communicate, because if you're in a bad place for whatever reason, or if they upset you, you need to tell them that, especially if, you know, I know that's easier said than done. A lot of times I'm terrible at it. I still work at it a lot of the times where, like, something will upset me and I don't want to say it because I just don't want to create drama. You know, but if it's something that happens...
same.
Yeah, see? No, it's like...
I don't even think it's you guys not wanting to create drama. I think it's because women biologically, we don't want to upset the person that we're with. So we kind of take all those problems upon ourselves and try to correct them internally, as opposed to discussing those things with our partner and saying, hey, this is what I'm having a problem with. And I think it comes with time. It comes with maturity. It comes with being in a relationship for a long time.
Right.
Being able to do that.
Yeah. If you make a commitment to somebody forever, you're going to want to be able to communicate with them. And you don't want to be able to say, you know, you don't want to get all resentful because they did this thing that you didn't talk about for 15 years because you didn't feel like you could, you know, like that. You need to be able to know that that person respects you enough to listen to you and want to fix it because they don't want you upset, you know, like there's obvious times where you can overreact, but you know, like there's legitimate reasons to talk to somebody too, and you need to feel safe enough with that person to communicate that.
Okay, well, you know what, Krystle, go ahead, finish your thought.
I was just gonna say, for me personally, I do have an issue with just being a bit broody, unfortunately. So that's what I was gonna add.
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely, like, sometimes I just, like, something will upset me, and it won't be necessarily something he did or whatever, but, like, I'll just get upset internally, and then I'm like, oh, God, like, I just need to get over it. Like, I need to stop being such a big baby about it, you know?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Red.
I was just going to say we're coming up on an hour and a half that we've been at this. So I think a good place to land this would be asking everybody what advice they would give to women that fall under the spell of modern feminism, and what advice you would give to them to live their best lives. Whitney?
Well, I used to be under the spell of modern feminism. And it took prime years out of my life that I could have been having babies. So, I would say listen to that instinct that you have in yourself. You know, like I said, I always knew that what I was meant to do. I knew what I've always wanted to do was be a mother, and it's really what I was meant to do. So I think embrace that side of you, embrace the softness and the nurture and the care, because it's beautiful and it's rewarding, and it's really what makes women. I think we have such a hard time defining women nowadays because men, I guess, want to be women, but all I'm saying is, you know, like, what defines a woman is that right there. It's just that nurturing, caring, loving instinct that you have inside of yourself. Like, there's nothing more rewarding or fulfilling than it. You know, like, there's no career, no car, no material thing will ever make you feel that way. and just embrace it. So that's all.
Good answer. Krystle,
Yes.
you're younger. You're a lot younger than us, so you should speak to your generation and fucking tell them.
Well, to be quite honest, from what I've seen of my generation, most of my generation, modern day feminism, believer. But that's a whole other topic and subject. All I would say is, because I never fell under the guise of it, but I was before quite, like the yes man of like, okay, and just like kind of be like, okay, not to start trouble and whatnot, because I didn't want people to hate me. But I would say my biggest advice would be, if something doesn't feel right to you, like the things you hear that you like say yes to, or like you're like, yeah, you know what, you're right, like if there's stuff you're hearing or stuff you're seeing that on the outside you're agreeing with it, but in terms of you're right, it's okay. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to not being said or what's being out there. It's okay to be your own person and not fall into the same mindset. It doesn't make you a bad person, and it doesn't make you any less seeing men and women as equal. It just makes you. It means you're just a free thinking person. That if you disagree, that's fine. So.
Right. Yeah.
If it doesn't feel right to you, that is fine. And learn to accept that, and learn is going to hate you for you disagreeing. That's what I'd say, because that's what I would have needed to hear.
All right. Well, I guess I'll finish mine off with, if you are a feminist and you feel like you are only doing so because other women are telling you that's the way that you are supposed to think, it's the way you are supposed to feel, I would say go with the way that you feel internally, even if that means you are pro-choice, even if it means you will disagree with me and I will probably swear at you on Twitter eventually. I would say I have a lot more respect for you if you stand by your convictions than if you just follow along blindly. I don't like people that do and say what other people want them to. And I don't think you should do or say anything just because you have a vagina. That is stupid and it's misogynistic. Even agreeing with feminism just because you have a vagina is misogynistic. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Does anyone have any final words before we end?
I think I'm all right.
You actually remind me
Of your vagina? Thing. That's gross.
Do not let anyone, man or woman, put value in you because of your gender, being a woman. Do not, because that's
yes.
That me when it came to the thought of like going out for work, because there's a big call for like female screenwriters and whatnot, and the big worry of mine, even sometimes, is that I don't want to be hired, or I don't want to be solely valued as a writer because I happen to be female. I want to be valued as a writer because I'm a damn good writer. So,
there you go.
So stick to your guns. It's okay to disagree, and do not let anyone only see value in you because of your sex.
Right.
Even us.
You determine your own value.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, in the word of Ginger, I know, I can't believe I'm saying this. I feel gross. Keep on fighting the good fight.